These are the iron-clad NDA contracts Michael Jackson used to keep his employees from divulging details of his intimacy with young boys, demanding staffers report concerns to the singer's team, not the police, or be fired. Michael Jackson used these iron-clad legal contracts to silence his army of employees and keep them from going public about his relationships with young boys, DailyMailTV can reveal. Both his business contracts with staff and confidentiality documents obtained exclusively by DailyMailTV show how the King of Pop kept any wrongdoing from leaking out to the public. Rather than go to the authorities to report any wrongdoing or issues, all staff were instructed to speak to Jackson's management. The paperwork drawn up by Jackson's lawyers successfully prevented workers from revealing any suspicions surrounding the star's behavior with young children from 1988 to 2003. The watertight contracts even saved Jackson from losing a civil case from 5 employees in 1997 known as the Neverland 5 thanks to a judge ruling they breached their deals by speaking publicly. Jackson made all employees of his Neverland ranch agree to hundreds of rules and regulations detailed in a 21-page handbook. It provided a full-scale breakdown for workers on everything from health insurance, vacation days, meals, paychecks and medical benefits. On top of that, they signed a 5-page employee confidentiality contract. The paperwork details how the star's business team and lawyers had his employees on lockdown. The clauses clearly state that if any employee was to report any of Jackson's actions outside of the house, they would be terminated. Furthermore, even if they did report abuse or suspicions of illegal activity, the handbook instructs workers to speak to management only rather than going to police. Michael Joseph Jackson, August 29, 1958 – June 25, 2009 was an American singer, songwriter, and dancer. Dubbed the King of Pop, he is widely regarded as one of the most significant cultural figures of the 20th century and one of the greatest entertainers of all time. He was also known for his unorthodox lifestyle, residing in a private amusement park he called Neverland Ranch, and often becoming the focus of tabloid scrutiny. Jackson's contributions to music, dance, and fashion, along with his publicized personal life, made him a global figure in popular culture for over 4 decades. The 8th child of the Jackson family, Michael made his professional debut in 1964 with his elder brothers Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon as a member of the Jackson 5. He began his solo career in 1971 while at Motown Records, and in the early 1980s, became a dominant figure in popular music. His music videos, including those for Beat It, Billie Jean, and Thriller from his 1982 album Thriller, are credited with breaking racial barriers and transforming the medium into an art form and promotional tool. Jackson is the 3rd best-selling music artist of all time, with estimated sales of over 350 million records worldwide. Thriller is the best-selling album of all time, with estimated sales of 66 million copies worldwide. His other albums, including Off the Wall 1979, Dangerous 1991, and History 1995, also rank among the world's best-selling. He won hundreds of awards, more than any other artist in the history of popular music, is one of the few artists to have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, and is the only dancer from pop and rock to have been inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and the Dance Hall of Fame. In the employee confidentiality contract, employees were told that the definition of confidential behavior centered on all activities of the star. The contract warned employees, "You shall not, without our prior written consent in each instance, at any time, whether during or after your employment with us, photograph, tape, film or other record a. any likeness or activities of Jackson, b. any concert performances of Jackson, c. any aspect of or activity occurring at Neverland Valley, or d. any other activities related to Jackson." It adds, "You further agree not to make any remarks or do any acts that might harm or disparage or cause to lower in esteem him or their public image or reputation." The Neverland Handbook section on confidentiality reads, "As an MJJ Productions employee, you will, on occasion, be given access to and become acquainted with confidential information. This information will include information developed inside MJJ Productions as well as information entrusted to us by third parties concerning Michael Jackson and/or any of his companies. As the maintenance of confidentiality is of critical importance to MJJ Productions, MJJ employees will be expected to sign a confidentiality agreement and to maintain the absolute confidentiality of any confidential information they obtain. Any employee who violates this policy or the confidentiality agreement by divulging or discussing such information except as necessary to complete assigned duties will be subject to discipline up to and including immediate termination. Any employee who has any question as to whether certain information is confidential has an obligation to discuss the issue with management prior to divulging the information. The uncovered documents have emerged in the wake of allegations made by James Safechuck and Wade Robson, who accused the King of Pop of sexual abuse at the ranch for several years. Of all the befuddling legal matters in the entertainment business, there's perhaps none that causes attorneys to scratch their heads like the battle between Michael Jackson and the Internal Revenue Service over what the late entertainer should be paying in estate taxes. In the years after his death in 2009 at age 50, Jackson has experienced a commercial rebirth thanks to the savvy executors who have managed his assets. The 2009 documentary This Is It grossed $261 million, a Cirque du Soleil tribute show packs in fans, and there have been albums, video games and other lucrative memorials. Now the IRS wants its share, claiming the value of Jackson's name and image upon death amounted to more than $434 million. The estate's own valuation? Just $2,105. That's a huge discrepancy, and even that difference undersells the stakes. With interest and penalties, lawyers estimate the case, set for trial at a Los Angeles tax tribunal in 2017, could be worth more than $1 billion. Some tax specialists even wonder if it could lead to criminal tax evasion charges. The outcome could impact celebrity estate planning. "This is the biggest estate tax case I've ever seen," says attorney and tax specialist Gary Wolfe. Given that, it might be surprising to learn the Jackson reps have little idea about what to expect in the case. Speaking publicly about the IRS battle for the first time, Howard Weitzman, the estate's lead attorney, says both sides haven't exchanged much information and the IRS hasn't explained how its independent auditor determined the huge valuation. Executors John Branca and John McClain have overseen a remarkable turnaround, wiping out Jackson's debt and making enough revenue to generate about $100 million in tax payments already. But Weitzman estimates that Jackson earned no more than $50 million from the licensing of his name and image when the pop star was alive, even during Jackson's Thriller heyday. It seems preposterous that the IRS would arrive at a value 10 times this amount, he says. This is bizarre. And importantly, what matters most for tax purposes is the value of Jackson's name and likeness at the time of his death, not now, after his executors have worked their magic. Michael Jackson had no merchandising deals then, says Weitzman. Only after we began the resurrection and This Is It did things begin to change. The IRS says, you should have known about the documentary. That's like saying, we should have known he was going to die. And why didn't the King of Pop earn licensing money in the years before his death? See, charges of child molestation, rumors of drug use and no tours back then. In fact, when he died of an overdose, he was preparing for a comeback tour. It's enough to take a wonky tax case into sensational territory. In HBO documentary Leaving Neverland, the former child companions of Jackson allege that they engaged in sexual activity as minors with the star. While staff were on site, Safechuck claimed that Jackson molested him at various buildings across the ranch, including the movie theater and train station, which were areas frequented by staff. Hundreds of workers signed the secrecy documents during their employment at the Neverland Ranch after the singer purchased it for $17.5 million in 1988. Jackson bought the Sycamore Ranch after falling in love with the place while filming Say 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 with Paul McCartney. A huge fan of Peter Pan, Jackson vowed to turn the home into a real Neverland. The 2,800-acre estate, 4 times the size of Monaco, has 67,000 sycamore trees and features a sepia savanna which slopes up to a 3,000 feet peak that Jackson dubbed Mount Catherine, as homage to his mother. Management for Jackson often reminded employees of their confidentiality clauses during worker-staff meetings around the property. Head of security Bill Bray also had his bodyguard team regularly remind workers that they should never speak to Michael or face dire consequences. While workers were locked into deals, many parents and children who visited the ranch did not have to agree to the contracts. However, Jordan Chandler told police in 1993 that Jackson had abused him in his private quarters at the home. Know why Michael Jackson made all of his employees sign an iron-clad NDA contract in order to keep them from speaking about him here. Share your thoughts about this in the comment box. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more related videos.